UPL and net, just so you know.
Don, what's the biggest thing? You put him out there, you just want him to play his game and not make too much about it because it's his first game in the NHL this year.
Yeah, and that's, I didn't have a chance to talk with him till after we met yesterday, and I wanted to do that. And the hope is when you put him in, there's an element of relax to him, a comfort. And we won't know that till he's out there and plays. But that is, we want him to get, and I've said it about players that enter the league, you go through that phase of, wow, it's the NHL. And you got to get through that and to the point where you realize you belong, and then that competitiveness, rises. And for some guys, that's the moment they enter the league. And that's the difference for them. They're guys that are difference makers right away. The guy that enters the league and says, "I belonged here all along. Here I am. Give me the damn puck, or give me a breakaway against." It's an attitude and a confidence all in one.
Did you see comfort last year when you played those 4 games?
In spurts, absolutely. In moments of that. And again, it's I think familiar situations, familiar scenarios. Sometimes there's a goal and it's a little bit of a surprise to a goaltender. Those are the moments that are critical right there. Does that affect your confidence? Surprised the guy took a shot that quick or released it that quick, or was that smart, or leaned a little bit to make you think a pass was coming, whatever it may be. There's so many subtleties to all positions in goaltender, obviously being the last line of defense. We all talk about it. And the next thing we talk about is, as an example would be a glaring mistake a defenseman makes, because it's the second to last line of defense. And rarely do we talk about the forward that makes the mistake that led to all of that. It's not caught.
Do you have anything new on Malcolm Subban?
He was skated this morning, so that is really good news and definite progress. It ruled out a lot of other potential injuries that they were concerned with, and as did the imaging that he had once we got back. So that's good news, and I think we look for even better news tomorrow, but we'll see. I'm not a medical guy, as you guys have become well aware of. So.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, you don't have to apologize. It's me. So go ahead. Yeah.
How about Hague? Is he going to be ready?
Hag, we're gonna sit Hag another day and let him rest. He was sore in practice yesterday. We wanted him in the skate. We didn't obviously skate him this morning, and we'll give him now a few more days to get back, since we don't play. And Butcher was good the other day, so it's a good opportunity for Hag to get that rest, so he can get back to his game.
You mentioned the forwards, and we have obviously obsessed about goaltending and defense, but when you've given up the number of goals you have recently, that's a team thing. What do you want to see from your forwards in large part that you haven't seen enough of recently?
Just respect for that defensive detail. I think we have with a confidence on offense, an appetite or an excitement for offense that produces a lapse in defensive concentration. And it's simple stuff that we're giving up good opportunity against on. And we have to buckle down there. But the entirety of that to me is not a negative. It's a natural. This is what's happening to me is not shocking. It's not. I don't want to use the word disappointing, because there's certain elements of it that are very disappointing, but it's not unnatural. I mean, we're pushing to make these players better. We're pushing to not make them conservative. We're pushing to not make them play to not make a mistake. Again, I said it when I took the job. If we try to play 2-1 and 1-0, we're going to be a very boring team and develop nobody. And I don't want guys that are conservative. I want guys that ride the edge, and with that, you got to have confidence, because you're going to take hits. and it's going to bring attention to what you really need to pay attention to and some details. So I'm not throwing defense out by any means, but I demand it, and I'm fine winning a game 1-0, but not at the sacrifice of developing. And so we've pushed guys, and I guess if you play the game and you pay attention to all the details of defense, you're not improving anything offensively. And our guys just haven't found the balance to that. But they're the right guys. I mean, we're seeing skill develop, and now every day we're pushing the skill, and we got to keep our thumb on them that, hey, you better pay attention to this too. And I'd rather have it that way than, again, just trying to put 5 men and sit and block shots and never get any better. So I think this is a natural part of the process, and we just have to keep pushing through it. But I mentioned on the other side, we have to talk and talk about the goals we're scoring, which is good. Some of the plays we're making, which is good, and absolutely have to pay attention to improvements that we need on the defensive end.
Is that a large surprise to you, the number of goals? When you look at in the entirety of the season, you don't have Eichel, you don't have Reinhardt. Everybody figure, well, they're really going to struggle to score, and you guys are scoring more than you have in 8-9 years.
I didn't know that, but thanks. I'm thinking, Mike, if that makes me feel any better, but it does make me feel better because, again, if we're going to, just if we talk about our franchise over the last 10 years, and you bring up the numbers there, we need to develop hockey players. We need to become better. Like I said, the best teams outscore their mistakes. It's not that they don't make mistakes, but they have the confidence to outscore them, and that swagger, that confidence, puts the other team on their heels all the time. All the time. So they actually think about what I'm saying is they play a defensive game, and so they're not getting even offensive chances just by virtue of your strength offensively. And that's the direction we're going. We feel we have a lot of talent here that's raw talent that needs to develop, and we want them to gain that confidence. We want them to, I guess, be able to not be afraid to take risks. I think when you look at players that have gone through the league, over the years, they've learned not to make mistakes, and they've stayed in the league by virtue of that. They're a dependable, reliable defensive player. They don't even score. They become a vanilla type of a player. And there's obvious need for that in the league. But they never, we need players that have potential, that want to go after their potential. And that's going to be, they're going to make mistakes. And what we're seeing now is they're going after their potential, and they're exposed because of it, and that's exposing them to the other things, the next thing they need to pay attention to. And I don't want conservative guys, and I think situations like giving up a lot of goals, the reflex is to get really conservative, and I'm just not going to do it. I mean, we're going to pay attention to it and try to improve defensively, and we will, but we can't lose that confidence that we talk about for scoring goals. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak and say that they're taking the exact same approach. They got to coach in the moment too, and they just have to push their guys in the areas they need development. But the overall philosophy of developing players fits the same. We need J.J. Peterka and Quinn. They need to go down there and they need to work and improve their defensive thing, get components of the game and awareness. But they got to go there and play to their strengths too. It can't be just, hey, you're down here to learn defense. You've got to make improvements in that area, and so it is pretty darn close. But again, they're in the moment too. So, if they've given up the goals that we have, I'm sure they're buckling down and focusing. Their meetings are going to be on that, as ours have been recently.
The first Anaheim game, you got off to the lead. They came back and you found a way to win. What did you take away from that particular game?
Well, they're a heck of a team. They're a lot of what I say about us. They're a young team with a lot of talent, and they're unleashing their talent right now. You see Zegras. You see, I had Troy Terry. He's an exceptional player. He's having a breakout year. and they're green lighting a lot of those guys, and it's a transition for that franchise too. And you know, they go into Washington last night, and Washington, as good as Washington is defensively, I watched the game, they couldn't stop that team, and it put Washington on their heels in their own building, which is not easy to do. So they're playing a fearless brand of hockey. I like it and I don't like it all in one, which should make for a pretty entertaining game tonight. But that game, we capitalized on more mistakes than they did, from what I recall in that game. That was a wild game, and that's what I took from that game. They outplayed us in moments in that game. We just outscored them that game.
Back to offensive hockey. Has that always been your philosophy, or has it evolved over 30 years of coaching?
You know, there was one game that stands out for me in my coaching, and it was a World Championship gold medal game. And we outshot Team Canada 35-12. And we lost. They had 12 shots. And we just didn't score enough. And they just held the fort. They figured they weren't going to run and gun with us. And it was really hard to score. It was really hard to get them out of that. And that was quite a few years ago. And I've watched it close. And again, I point to the statistic in the NHL. Look at the stats of the team that scores the first goal of the game. And their winning percentage is like 700. You know, the average, it's amazing. Which means the other teams, as good as they are, the top teams in the league have a tough time coming back from a one-goal deficit in the NHL. So that goes with it. A lot of it ties in with my approach to it. What do you do if you fall down a goal or 2 goals? And I've watched the NHL, and it's tough to come back, and teams have a tough time doing that. And so, yeah, if we want to become a good team, the defensive components, a lot of it are just gut check, just get in the shooting lane, block a shot, habits, having a good stick. It's not as much talent and skill to defend. It's work ethic and habit and compete, which is simple, much easier than actually trying to create. And the evolving we see of Tage Thompson and Milstead, I mean, these are guys, and even Asman, that we've had in the organization that we didn't even see them and see their skill level. And I saw it when they were younger players. You know, with Thompson for sure I had him. And I've seen it in so many younger players. Troy Terry, who were playing tonight, I had him before they came to the NHL, so you really see their skill set. But it takes them a while to acclimate to the NHL before you're going to see that skill set come back at this level. And so we need to make sure we're doing that with our players. And that's why, you know, Peterka, Quinn, and Krebs are where they're at right now, because, you know, we want to make sure that their skill attributes are impactful in the NHL when they get here. As we've watched, it took Thompson a while, but we're starting to see it finally. And so for me, that's the biggest component of it.
Thank you.
Yep.